Hey, I'm Steve Knotts from Mixotexture. In this video, I'm going to show you some sound design tricks to make dark techno chords. Here's a rack I just built. It sounds like this, and you can learn from these tips and make your own rack, or grab this one from the link around this video. So what are we listening to? The main element here we have is the analog synth. It's playing a kind of bassy chord thing, and this filter that's moving. Now, I'd like to just illustrate. This is coming from one MIDI note. So the MIDI is just a single note, and to get that chord, I use the MIDI chord plugin with some shifting to make the intervals to make a minor triad. Don't worry about the music theory. The point is you press one note, you get a chord, which makes it fun and easy to use. Let's look at the basic synth sound first before we get into the effects. So I'm going to turn off the rack, turn off the LFO filter, turn off the delay and reverb. And we're going to start with the top row of macros with the analog instrument. So first off, the big two you want to put on are a low pass filter and resonance control. Those are, for almost every sound in the world, a low-pass filter and resonance make it fun to play with as a performance instrument and gives you something to tweak, it gives you something to do, makes it interesting for your audience so they can hear your sounds moving around and they know that there's somebody in the track having a good time. That's what electronic music is all about. So start with those two. Now, analog is cool because it gives you layers. So the first layer I added to a knob is the noise level from this middle oscillator. It's adding that, and you can change the frequency of that. The whole vibe of this one is kind of a dark sound, so I'm keeping the frequency of the noise down low a bit. Another layer we can add is called the sub level. So if you click on oscillator 1, watch down here in the sub level field, there's another oscillator that's like an octave lower. So if you want to use these chords as kind of like a heavy central bass element, you can add some sub-frequency in there. Let's put a little noise back up, roll the filter cut off back down. The next two knobs are time settings in the amp envelope, attack and release. So we're going to select amp 1 and make sure we got the control hand over here. Short attack, short release, kind of a staccato sound, right? Longer attack makes it feel soft. Longer release makes the chords hang in space, which is really fun when you lead to the next control, which is a high pass filter. Now we're getting out of the analog and into another device. This is designed to make a build-up, or at the end of the track, you roll off the lows, makes the sound feel like it's going up in the air. Okay, so a high pass filter takes out the bottom, takes out the lows, literally makes the sound feel like it's going up in the air. When you combine this with some reverb, you get a great sound that just lifts off and takes off. You can do that going into a breakdown and like have everything go into space and the beat drops out. Or check it out, do this in reverse. So when you're in a breakdown, there's no beat. You take these chords and start bringing down a high pass filter. You can do this on an instrument, on a whole mix, on your whole track, on a drum group. And as it gets lower and lower, it gets more and more exciting. When you get down here, then you drop your beat in and you get a really dramatic build-up and climax. And it's coming from the sound that's in the track already. So this is not like pasting on a white noise riser or doing some cheesy little extra like uplifter kind of thing. It's just like part of the track. Really organic, natural feeling sound. And it's complex and developed, which gives your track a really like professional feel. So those are a couple things that I like to do for just sound design with a basic instrument. You could do these on any sound. Low pass filter, brighter for the buildups, darker for the chill moments. The noise and sub are kind of particular to synthesizers. They are production tricks you can use if you like that kind of sound. And then your attack and release times have a bit of an emotional feel and a sonic feel. I like to actually do really short times right after a drop to get like a very kind of a aggressive sort of feel. So, all right, now let's turn this filter back on. This is just super exciting. So we've got 4 LFOs from Max4Live. The basic thing is happening is it's going like wow, wow. And you can see it's a low pass filter and the filter frequency is moving. But it's not just moving in a rhythmic pattern. It's moving at the same rhythm, at the same timing, but the depth is changing every time. Sometimes it moves a lot, sometimes it moves a little. The way I achieved that was I used one LFO to control that knob so that this is mapped to the filter frequency right here, but this LFO is being affected by the second one, which is controlling the depth. So in other words, it's like if you're tweaking the knob back and forth on the beat, sometimes you go all the way, and sometimes you only go a little bit. That's what these two LFOs are doing. It's actually a very natural human thing that you would do with a filter frequency, but these LFOs make the machine do it so you can free up your hands for something else. Now the next ones are modulating this LFO amount inside of AutoFilter. You see it's slowly going up and down. Now when it's down, it doesn't do anything. When it's up, it applies a sample and hold circuit to change the filter frequency. So when you hear that little blurble, right there, like a triplet roll kind of a thing, that's the sample and hold circuit changing the filter frequency just a little bit. And not only that, but the last LFO is going to have the sync rate. So right here, sometimes that little rhythmic glitch is fast, sometimes it's slow. This rate is changing here, which gives you another subtle variation in the sound. And these sound really good with a little bit of delay. So when those little rhythmic fluctuations come in, they linger. And the delay effect. Not all that complicated. It's stuff that you would actually think of if you were tweaking filter frequency on an LFO, but it's just like setting it up inside of Live kind of takes a little bit of extra programming, I guess. By the way, you need to have your live transport playing for the Max4Live LFOs to function. So, you know, this rack, you have to have the transport going for it to work. Then finally, a couple simple things at the end. Add some delay and reverb. That always makes a sound feel like it's in a space, gives it some three-dimensional energy, and it gives you something to play with. So let's get up a little reverb in here. There's the reverb by itself. And when you're doing macro knobs, I like to map reverb so it only goes up to 50% wet so you don't lose the dry signal. There's delay amount. Now watch when I go up with the delay feedback. We were talking about buildups at the beginning. I'm going to make the release time longer. So this sound is hanging in space. And I'm going to roll up that high pass filter frequency to make it kind of disappear into the ether. And then roll down the feedback to make an ending. So that's some sound design that I'm doing with this rack called the Techno Chords rack. There's a link around the video where you can grab it for Live 11 Suite. Requires Max4Live. Requires you to drop it on a track, have some fun playing with it, and let me know how you like it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.